Good morning, everybody. I'm back with a little bit more to say about this Department of Corrections and the current state of what's going on there. I'm continuously getting more and more positive responses and people asking me to say more, and people appreciating that I did put myself out there and stand up for those who are in there who cannot do so for themselves. I've been home from prison for almost 8 years now. I'm not on any type of supervision. So none of what I'm doing has anything to do with me or is for me. What I'm doing is for them people that are still in there suffering, that are being abused, that are being set up with weapons, that are being set up with drugs, that are losing their release dates because of things that they did not actually do, as well as the actual fact that they are continuously being oppressed in a way that is not okay, right? And they're oppressing the families of the loved ones, and they're doing unfair things to them as well. People want to talk about what I did wrong, right? It's continuously being brought up. I'm not asking for forgiveness for any of the things that I did from any of the people that I've done the things to, right? I don't want them to grant me grace. I don't want them to pardon me. I did my time. I went to prison and I served all that time that I did. I didn't cry while I was in there. I went there and I did my bid. I stood up. I did the right thing. I changed my life, and now I'm out here still doing the right things. So the fact of the matter is, I don't know why people continuously try to make this about me. This has nothing to do with me, right? I was wrong for committing violent crimes, right? And I admit and I own responsibility for that. That's why I went and did my time, and I didn't cry the entire time that I was in there about it. I went there and I just held it down. I was like, whatever, I did some wrong. Now I got to be accountable for the wrong that I did. See, that's exactly what I'm asking for these officers, is accountability. What I want is for them to also be subject to the same law that I was subject to, right? I've gotten so many responses from family members talking about how recently they killed their husbands or their sons or their family members in some type of institution, right? In New York State, right? I'm getting an overwhelming amount, to be honest with you. They're abusing kids who are suffering from autism in these places. They're doing a multitude of things that are unrighteous and not right. The reality is these people are called to uphold the law, and they are the ones that are actually breaking the law. The reality is, if you notice, they're not scared to strike. They're not scared to do any of these behaviors because they've been doing it for so long without any consequences. The reason that they feel that they're exempt, right, is because they don't want to try them in the streets, because when it comes down to the situation, right, none of the officers stand up and say that, yes, I witnessed so-and-so beat this person continually. Yes, I, officer so-and-so, seen that officer set a weapon up in this. No, it's not happening, right? So the reality is the only way to hold these officers accountable is for them to wear these body cams continually and consistently, right? I've been getting a multitude of reports from people that are inside of these institutions that there are still officers that are not wearing their body cams. They are doing cell searches with no body cams on. They're doing all kinds of things that are completely illegal, right? And are completely harmful to the people in these institutions. What I'm calling for is for a complete change in the culture, right? Where they have to be held accountable, where there is no openings for them to be able to do these things that they continuously do to people for this extended period of time. My friend Hotep, years ago, Derek Anderson, they ripped this man's dreads out of his head. He had to get 180 some odd stitches to repair his scalp because they ripped every single dread out of his head in Clinton Correctional Facility. Let's talk about the amount of murders that have occurred within that facility in probably since 1980, right? A ridiculous amount in that facility alone. So let's continuously shine light on this. Let's continuously speak the realities. And I appreciate all the families that are coming forth. Please continue to do so. Let's continue to talk about it. Let's continue to teach other people what's really happening in there. And let's hold these officers accountable like I was held accountable. I did a majority of my life in an institution because I did bad things, right? That's what they say. I'm a criminal, right? So I'm just wanting the same thing to apply to these individuals that are doing these same things. That's all. And, you know, honestly, 2004 was when I caught that violent, heinous crime, right? I was an 18-year-old kid that didn't know what I was doing, that was completely lost in this world. Sorry for every mistake that I made in my ignorance before my frontal lobe and my prefrontal cortex was actually fully developed, y'all. I made some mistakes. I'm sorry. But you know, these are grown men making these same mistakes. These are grown men that are not being held accountable. These are grown men that continuously do these things. And these are grown men that are murdering people in these institutions. They murdered somebody in Kasaki last month. They just murdered somebody in Marcy. They just murdered somebody in Sing Sing. They're murdering people, is the reality. Let's highlight this, y'all.